So we're going to start with game 3, not before we'll mention our guest here, captain of the US. I wanted to say the US men team, but then you would tell me that I have to be politically correct and said the US Open team, right, John?
This is true.
So we have
Anybody's welcome to play on that.
everyone. You don't want me there. And international master John Donaldson, that I have to say, his book on the Maran was one of my favorite one when I was studying chess, although I never really scored well with the Maran. Not blaming the book, blaming me. But okay, so I will have to be extra careful with my analysis and comments. But game number 3, and Carlsen comes with a big novelty here. Knight f3, d5, g3, g6. It's actually interesting. There are probably like 1,000 other lines to play that are okay for black, right? I mean, c5, c6, knight f6. But I think psychologically it's really interesting to say, I'm confident. Okay, show me what you've got. So, big move, c4. Of course, after d4, we might get to some b4, for example. Okay, many different possible lines. Bishop g2, d3. Completely different world. Anand took. And okay, very, no point in spending much time on the opening. Okay, I can mention there were some players that were playing that, like, okay, Markovsky played it against Shirov in 2000, and Shirov went on and won with black. And nothing really spectacular in this position. Take, knight g7. Yeah, I will stop in a second. Okay. Those are types of positions that you want to play in a bullet game. You get something like, okay, very simple, kind of no theory, move the pieces left, right. Usually it's working for Carlsen, but again, bishop e6 is the move that was played here. I mean, okay, I can just mention two chess legends that had this position. Okay, Stein against Averbach played this in Soviet Union Championship in 1970. They are strong enough. But Anand played h6, which to me is a super logical move. I mean, the purposes of h6, well, first of all, of course, to control g5. In many versions, I mean, queen h4 is met with, in some situation, even g5. Okay, of course, you have to be worried about those sacrifices, but if they are not really working, then g5 is very logical for black. It's not really that weakening. But either way, just taking away the g5 square, I assume that just knight f5 immediately is easy. So h6 is just a decent move. To me, it still seems very simple and logical way to play. Bishop d2, and okay, knight d4. A very similar game was played 2 years ago between, well, strong players, Kozubov against Nagy, both of them like 26, 50. Black played first bishop e6, and after queen a4, then he went with knight to d4, rook c1. Okay, they played whatever they played. Anand played first knight to d4, which was immediately, well, Carlsen immediately took, and I think the take is quite a big decision here. If not take, what is his other possibility? Black just want to play very simply c6. c6 is quite an automatic, decent move, just to block this diagonal, and then follow the development with bishop e6. I'm not even looking at one logical idea why not to play bishop e6. Let me just take it back, a bit less arrows. Is that the queen might get in trouble in some versions, like c6, and, well, b5 the queen always have c5, but the queen on a4 seems somewhat more coordinated to some squares. Or maybe he just doesn't want to push the queen immediately to a better square. Take, knight e4. c6 is very, very automatic. How can this be a bad version for, version for black? I mean, this is somewhat a backward pawn. I do not see the easy way of a normal minority attack that white is so much playing. All right. By the way, this was a theme in which game? We've seen exactly this one in the first game, right? When we mentioned, when we see a bishop on g2, or putting an opposing bishop, fianchetto, against many lines in the English and so on, is almost automatic, just neutralizing this one. a4. Okay, his idea maybe to play a5 and target this one in some situations. Another idea in some moment, well, maybe not now, is thinking about one day to be able to move the bishop and get b4, b5. Anand played b6, which I think is simplest move to play. Actually, I think this b6 has a threat in this position. What is the threat here? It's almost a decent tactical threat.
Play c5 and the bishop has to go to e3.
Or e1, yeah. I mean, let's say, just for the sake of it, like something like this. It's already horrible, because let's say it doesn't matter pretty much where you go. Knight c6, and this backward pawn that we kept mentioning. I mean, f5 is going to come. I mean, this is probably already big advantage for. I mean, very big advantage for black. I mean, f5, rook e8. So pretty much Carlsen's next move is quite forced here, actually. Take. But then, once again, we spoke about preparation and about whether it was 6 months of doing 10 hours a day or being in the beach and watching movies. And I'm clearly thinking that he chose the second one. But yeah, I mean, you could see like Gelfand, for example, during his match with Anand. I mean, it was clear that he just worked as hard as humanly possible about his chess. He came with Sveshnikov that he never played. He came with Grunfeld, and in all of those he showed big superiority to Anand. I mean, big. And here Carlsen is just coming once again and saying, well, I'm the greatest talent ever in the history of the world. I'll move the pieces and I will win. Which, once again, if he will win, everyone will say that, and if he will not win, then okay, it's quite clear that Kasparov will be, well, at least to me, maybe I'm wrong, will be the first one to come and say, you see, that's why I stopped working with him. I said he's not working hard, he's not this, he's not that. Okay, so it's you choose which draw the excuses will be or not, depends on the result of the match. But objectively, white has nothing here. I mean, maybe it's worse tiny bit. a5. And rook to b8. Actually, a line that I was wondering is f5 here possible? This was actually something interesting. I don't think that actually that this line was mentioned much, but it's of course the most logical move. Yeah, it is actually not mentioned at all in any analysis that were, but it's a very logical move.
It's a huge cramp on the knife.
Well, I just want to, I just wanted to look at the pawn and see if I can get the pawn. I mean, maybe I cannot get the pawn, maybe I can get the pawn, but it looks like it's not leading to anything. After capture and capture on b6. And the reason is because after capture, this is actually not so cool for black. So black actually can play better. He can take on d3, and maybe, I don't know, somewhat unclear. But I don't like it for black. I have a question. What is really the big disadvantage of this move f5? Because it's a very risky move to play, in my view. What's the problem with this move? You want to take a knight. It cannot be that bad. It's weakening many things around the king. First of all, you're weakening the 7th rank, big time. You're weakening this diagonal. Right now it doesn't seem so, but maybe one day the light-colored bishop will be off the board, and also weakening those pawns. I mean, f5 is a move I mean, I would be very scared to play f5. If it's really working and I'm certain that it's working, okay, I'll play that. But it's one of those moves that not easy to take it back. So Anand played rook b8, and it looked like he could have played some rook to e8 also was a possibility. Okay, you know, there is this e file that is not really that bad. But let's go and see rook e1, rook ac8. Okay, you know, as any move is reasonable here that you want to suggest. Yeah, and I think here Anand was defending against exchanging of the queens, queen d6, which basically seems like a check, and I thought that's why he played rook d8. But I do think that he is right. I mean, if the queens are off the board, it looks like to me like, oh, there's also a tiny problem on f6. So yeah, and here was really interesting how the game went. King h7 was played, and I think that if h5, which looks so logical, white can get into some trouble here. But how? I mean, h5 looks logical.
Bishop e5. I mean, yeah, e5, bishop e5. Black.
Yeah, bishop e5 is one decent possibility. Take, most likely take. Yeah, and white, I wonder if white should go, where white should go, because remember we mentioned big time there, the 7th rank. And maybe move like queen h4 is even possible. Ben came to help me. And I mean, maybe if take, I mean, it looks horrible, the structure and everything, right? But I think first check, and black get, you know, white gets a lot of play here. I mean, this knight on e4 it's a big knight there. I mean, bishop e5 is a possibility, but there might be some other moves. Like, for example, at the beginning I was thinking that f5 is just a good move. It looks like f5 is so cool because, okay, take, and something like that I thought has to be okay plus for black. Queen h4, he might take, and well, maybe even tiny think about white king with the g file. But the problem here is that this is just a really strong move. This is just not so cool. At least something serious to consider, right? I mean, take. This knight never goes away. Maybe king h7, maybe something like exchanging, and no, suddenly the light square seems black doesn't want to look at something like that. But maybe just g5 immediately is a possibility. because if the queen goes here, the king can go, I don't know where, let's go here. And then the queen will be kicked and f5. I mean, it's possible to think about maybe g4. I don't know, too complicated for us to really say clearly what's happening here, but I think bishop e6 and queen d7. I don't believe much in this thing, but at least h5 was I think something serious to consider. I would be first thing to consider. But knight d2 was played, which means Carlsen didn't like all the things there, but I'm not certain if this is better, because you know, this is the maneuver of the queen to h1. I mean, quite by force. Here, here, here. I wonder if this move is worth anything. After f6 there's just no queen, right? Okay, well, that's possible. So he has to go here. Queen h1. Yeah, I was speaking yesterday with John. He was actually asking me, or we spoke about his queen h1, something that's worth something. And there was a game played in, I think, European individual championship. I think it was Meyer from Germany against Eurodesco, and it was just a genius idea. I mean, he played king h2. It was in a very very solid line, and the queen made it to h1, and he won the game. I mean, he needed to put a knight on c6. He played king all the way to king h2, queen h1, and won. So that's one game I have in my head worth something. But so, what do you think? This is preparation for white? But the interesting part is that it's not so horrible. Like, I mean, okay, of course black has to be better, and I have to say, I was watching the tiny bit commentary of the official tournament, and no, okay, they had some. It was quite interesting how some players thought that white, you know, without mentioning name, it wasn't Grandmaster Ramesh or Grandmaster Susan Porger. It was the other commentators. They thought that white is better, or white might be playing for advantage, and like no, like seriously, like seems bizarre. I mean, yeah, I understand the light squares, and I understand the A file, but I mean, black play is super simple here. Well, what black want to play if he gets two moves here? B5, C4. Yeah, you have pawns. You have to push them. You don't want me to call Yermo, you know, saying that Arlequin always say, you know, pass pawns should be pushed in his super heavy Russian accent. I heard it from him, and I believe him. Pass pawns should be pushed. There are no pass pawns yet, but you want to make. So, yeah, this is just very strong plan. Carlsen played 94. Okay, king g7 is logical. Yeah, and here was interesting. Like, my first instinct was to move the bishop. Like, I always it's a true story, and I was part of it, so I always like to say it. Like, I was doing commentary on the first round of Melody Amber. I think it was in 2010, not 11, in 2010. And the first round was Grishuk against Kramnik. And I was analyzing, we were together, me and Peter Svidler, which is always amazing to be with Peter, whether it's chess or not. And there was a line there, and I was very happy with one line, and white was, I thought, way better. And I think I'm correct. But then Peter said, there was a line that you have to give the bishop, and Peter said, no, he doesn't want to play that. He said, Ronen, you're right, but I don't give my bishops. You know, yeah, there were a pair of bishops. Actually, Grishuk played like Peter and won, but it was just like, you know, you're right, I don't want to give my bishop. So it's like, I always tell it, you know, to every time that a student of mine, not too strong, like plays something and simply takes a knight, why? Because, well, it's fun to take. No. So I thought bishop c8 was, I don't know, something, you know, just retreat, but it's kind of interesting that there were some evil computer ideas, like even bishop h3 at some point was something to consider. And I mean f5, but maybe once again weakening the 7th rank too much. All in all, I think that Anand's reply was just really strong. I mean, well, maybe when you're a world champion you know the rules, but then you know when not to obey them. He played just b5 immediately, not trying to save the bishop. I think that Carlsen wasn't really expecting that. That's my feeling. Look at the time. I mean, this is really important. You have 28 minutes. He spent almost half of his time, like 12 minutes, I mean, and actually played a move that is questionable. But he really wasn't expecting b5. I mean, maybe I mean, okay, he's younger, so maybe he went to the same school that Peter went, right? You don't give away the bishops, but really, like, I mean, my first moves would be, once again, bishop c8, maybe bishop f5, maybe, I don't want to give the bishop, but okay, Anand spent 4 minutes and Carlsen not less than 12 minutes. The problem is that after take, I mean, where is white great counterplay? Like, for example, bishop h3, okay, beautiful, but the bishop is attacking nothing, and c4 is coming, and if queen e4, I mean, this is just bad for black. I mean, for white. White is playing for whatever, somehow to hold it. But this e3, wow. I mean, for my take, it seems really wrong move, right? I mean, just opening this bishop so much. I mean, let me quote Carlsen, because Carlsen said, I really didn't have any idea what was happening next, so I was happy to survive. Does this look like a confident assumption of the position? Yeah, and then Anand said that I think around here Carlsen lost the thread of the position after being surprised by b5. So yeah, it's really interesting how you have some general concept about, like, okay, not giving bishops, and there's so much in your head that b5 is not the automatic. Yeah, actually they mention here that this was his original idea, initial one, and then queen. Yeah, but I actually have to disagree on Carlsen's thought. I mean, Carlsen said that this, and he thought that this is going to be equal, like he gives this line. But did he play e3 to get more than equal? No, I think he just said it. I mean, plus after queen, why to play queen e7 and not queen f6? Like, I mean, rook a7 is not threatening anything. I mean, it's not threatening anything. Somehow I get the feeling that Anand is much more truthful in what he's saying after the game. Carlsen, I don't know, that was just my impression. He's not saying much, and what he's saying, I don't believe that he thought, again, those are exact quotes, that this is a draw. That's what he's seen, and he didn't go for it. Like, and he played e3 to get much worse. No, he didn't think this is a draw. Queen f6 much better. Anyway, so he played e3, which seems very, very risky. Okay, and here comes the moment. Remember, in the previous game, again, not easy to blame anyone, but that's why we are here. So we will do it for the world champion. Well, what to play here? Okay, he played bishop d4. But still better. Rook e2 and c4. No, okay, so Carlsen could have chosen to make a draw according to him in the other line or get this position. All right. But okay. So take, bishop e4. Beautiful. Take. Of course, if take on f2 and d3 hanging. And here is a critical position. So he played queen b4. Okay. And here, once again, rook f8 was a possibility. Once again, rook f8 was possibility, and black is better, but okay. This was played. No. Okay. What to play here for black? And I think black has one logical move.
B1 check.
Which one? Queen b1. Oh. Check is good, but after I move, I don't know. I want discover check. I mean, maybe check is good, but maybe black is lost here. Ugh. No check. You don't want to step. You don't want to step on the light squares in this position. The light squares are white. You don't want to step on the light squares. Forget about it. Light squares, not for black. Which move? Queen c5. Yeah, but what with this check here? Oh, bishop e7, queen d3. I mean, some scary stuff here.
What if you play queen e7 right away and then play b4?
Queen e7, maybe this move. I mean, okay, I think, Ben, what would you play here?
Bishop d4?
Knowing or not knowing?
Of course I know.
Of course I know. And if you didn't know, you would also play bishop d4.
Well, then I'd play rook d and offer, no.
Then you would be playing for the world championship. No, but bishop d4, I don't know. It doesn't seem like impossible move, right? I mean, again, there are moves that somehow seem like they make sense, and there are moves that, you know, I think we should play either way. No, but you know, the last four moves. Okay, again, maybe Ben will look at me and say, when this. Will you say that, Ben? Hopefully not. Like if Anand is not pushing in this position at all, let's say the last five moves.
No, rook d is ridiculous.
I mean, seriously, dude, like and not playing rook f8 and rook f8. No, okay, so you can say, okay, so he's not going to be the world champion. I mean, to be world champion, you need to play quite really strong, right?
You played pretty good today.
Played excellent today. Dude, I was like,
After move 18.
I was awake like I woke up like at 3:50, couldn't go back to sleep, so I was watching it like until 7. No, and Caruana was there actually. It was so super interesting. They had a rest day in the European Championship, so he was analyzing all the time, but no. Yeah, rook d8 is... And actually, you know, he offered a draw in this position. Played queen f6 and offered a draw. And Carlsen refused. No, but okay, objectively white is tiny better.
First time he's better.
Yeah, first time is better. No, and then they played here like serious stuff. And by the way, you know that Carlsen gave him the hand for handshake. And I mean, the arbiter said a draw, but you know, I'm pretty certain in some tournaments, one would claim, I mean, things like that happened, right? That black will claim a win, right? I mean, there's checkmate possible on the board. White-handed, you know, but I guess they took it. Yeah, because if you cannot push at all in those positions, like when are you going to push what? When he's going to play dragon and be +2, checkmate attacking? Okay, I don't think he's going to get any of those. I mean, if you don't push those positions, no. And then today, okay, I am going to absolutely, totally, quickly skip the Berlin because honestly, I mean, I think I analyzed so much chess in my life, like really a lot, in many different positions, many lines, many openings, a lot. The Berlin somehow, I didn't analyze one game in the Berlin, one. It's incredible. No, like, don't. That's my kryptonite. Don't want to look, don't want to touch, don't want to be next to it. Like, no, but it's horrible, you know. Some students ask me, really smart, really strong players. Okay, what to play here? All right, you know, play d3 if you're in the mood, or if not, actually, okay, play this and rook e1 and get your 0-1 advantage, score 51 to 53 out of 100 and be happy. It's not like you're going to score more in the main lines in the Berlin. At least here it's simpler. But, okay. Those guys played... No, actually it's embarrassing, you know, dude. I'm kind of like a grandmaster and I never analyzed one game there. No. Okay. Kramnik played this against Kasparov. That's enough knowledge. All right. But actually, I think that this is the line they played today, that it's actually really interesting the more I think about it, because Jon Ludwig, okay, that's been helping Carlsen, and I don't know, they're kind of buddies, like, I think they were living 4 kilometers from one another. That's where they grew up, so. But there are some games of Jon Ludwig. Actually, a game from 2012, he played against Berg, and a game, amazing, a game he played against Gangli. I guess, you know, first they let the seconds play, and then the masters are playing the same line. So let's actually see the game, the knight c3. So Gangli, that has been Anand second for a long time, playing this in Vacanze against Jon Ludwig. So they played bishop g5, king c8, g4, h6. Okay, bishop take was bishop d2 was a line, and bishop take. In this example, he played bishop d2, knight h4. Anyway, I don't know what white is trying to sell in this position, but white ended up winning. Actually, really amazing that Anand second played this, Carlsen second played this, Carlsen Berlin is a major defense, and Anand had no idea what to do today. That's actually unbelievable. Anyway, knight c3. Knight c3, king c8. Okay. There was a game played this year between Dominguez and Navarra, and g4 was played, knight h4. Okay, all the usual whatever, and the game went to a draw. And I'll just show the Berg against Jon Ludwig because it is the closest that we got to our game. Bishop g5, h6. Okay, so this is a position that Carlsen main second, or at least the one that everyone knows, played. In that game, Berg played a4, a5, rook d2, c5. Okay, and here actually this common idea, very common idea in the Berlin was played, just to get the knight to e5. I mean, if take, I guess this is just nothing. You just want to go to the 7th rank, and some ideas from, if rook e8, just some ideas from knight b5 and so on. I mean, something like this. White has a pretty pawn structure, but some activity with the pieces, I guess. Anyway, in the game after e6, he actually took. He did 95, and the game ended in a draw. This was played in about a little bit more than a year ago. But here it's interesting because Anand played quite quickly and he played very logical moves, and then I couldn't understand the position at all. So he played rook d2 and then c5. Okay, this I can understand. Bishop e6. And now I played kind of fast knight e1. No, and okay, I'm going to be as honest as possible. This was like probably, yeah, looking at the time like 4:30 in the morning. Like everyone is kibitzing and I'm like kind of, I can say, okay, so what does he want to do? Like, okay, black just want to play king b7, rook d8, attack the, play c4, and okay, isn't white already worse? And like trying to figure out. Then I had a genius idea. I said, I'll play knight e2. Oh, if there is a brilliant idea, I'll play knight e2, I'll move the knight to b4, I'll penetrate on the 7th rank. So like I tell my students when they suggest such a move, I tell them, excellent, you played the move of Anand, but it's a very bad move. So, you know, I suggested knight e2, nobody suggested it. I was so, and then like a minute after it, he's playing it, I'm so happy. Okay, I didn't see the pawn. No, I've seen the pawn, but I was saying, well, the bishop is a bit dangerous there, and well, it's not my pawn, so yeah, it's scary, but actually you look at it a bit. b3, c4. Yeah, the bishop is not trapped. So, what was the genius preparation? Horrible. No, just f4, defending the pawn. King b7. There were some other ideas with just bishop back. Okay, we can tiny bit fast forward. Yeah, Anand said after the game that he thought this was a better move, and transferred the knight immediately to c6. But actually here was the most bizarre moment. Okay, well, what is the automatic immediate move everyone will play here? Yeah, a6, right? I mean, this was incredible. I mean, this moment. Actually, they both kind of didn't play so well. a6. Okay, take. And here, it's kind of, you know, like this. Boris Gelfand. Here's some serious stuff here. Yeah, in every official analysis it says, like, I'm just, rook c1 was a suggestion of Boris Gelfand in commentary. Yeah, so what to play now? Rook c1. There are some hot lines here. Actually, it was funny because I was looking at this line. I was looking at this, like, just again, half asleep. I was looking at this and saying, okay, you know, I don't know. And I said, okay, better go to sleep. And no, and actually I made the effort like for 15 minutes, and then I said, okay, I was thinking too much about the game and position, and so no. But I was thinking about something like this. But this is apparently the right way.
E6 is the right way.
E6. I thought knight b4 immediately, right? E6 first.
Yeah.
You want to play e6 first. No, okay, but actually there was another line. Here knight c5. Knight c6 is the main one, because here this is also a possibility. This is also a possibility. Knight c6 is the move, I think. Let's see. Knight c6, rook c2. No, but there was a cool line here that we will see in a second. This one is immediately very dangerous. Yeah, just knight before immediately. This line. I mean, just another version of stuff that we were looking at. Actually, this is quite serious stuff. Yeah, this is not bad. So they analyze some line like this, but it looks like maybe this is with enough play already. But after knight d5, you mentioned d6, right, Ben? Maybe, and this is better than knight c5, right? This was maybe a line that they were mentioning. This. Okay, so what's the idea? What happens if I just take?
95.
Knight e5. And what is your threat here? You want? Do you have a threat? Oh, this threat. For example, this one. That's super cool. That's some of the fantasy variation that. Yeah, there were lots of complications here, but I think Gelfand Rook c1 was better than the move played in the game. In the game it took, I mean actually, okay, computers say this position is about unclear or something like that. And okay, once again, a6 was probably better than Rook h4, Knight f2, Knight c6, Rook c2. By the way, did you manage to understand the difference between Rook c2 and Rook c1?
Maybe C2 is closer to the clock.
This is a professional way of thinking. Okay, so we will. But here Anand played like all moves Houdini, like all Houdini moves, which leads me to believe that he doesn't want to lose. No, and this was amazing idea. He just really wants to exchange, and this way. Yeah, and this was a bad move, this Rook f4.
Yeah, Rook d8 is the best move.
I mean, just a Twitter by Ian Rogers. He said, no, and this actually, I remember also a friend of mine was telling me when there was the match Anand Kramnik, he was following it on ChessBase and he was saying, you know, the commentator should just go and give simul to both players, because he was seeing the live analysis and Kasparov was seeing way more in the Anand. So Rogers was saying, curious that 94 was the only move Kasparov wanted to analyze 10 minutes ago. Before it was played on the board, he was already seriously looking. Okay. Yeah, now Rook f4. They said that this was a bit more accurate, that Rook d8. But the position is still like basically what he did get here, and that's something very big. Instead of playing passive, he got counterplay. He has some threats, he has some ideas. The pawn is not so easy to fight with. The knight is paralyzed, the bishop cannot go. Yeah, I think this is a great example how he managed to complicate things. Maybe Carlsen after all was right, complimenting Anand non-stop. Anyway, this was played, and I think here rook f8 was played, and this was actually a mistake. I mean, he had to play like g5, because here actually for the first time since e4, after rook f8, is maybe worse here, but I'm not certain what he really overlooked. Okay, take. Yeah, just to say that I wasn't joking about me sleeping in the morning. So I'm looking at this after. Like I went to sleep like at 6 and woke back like at 7, something like. And I'm looking and I'm saying, okay, I see they were already played that. Like, why didn't play king e5? Like, why not king e5? Like, no, okay, imagine like I'm like this, watching at the board. Like I didn't even see the king side, and then I said several words that should not be mentioned. There is no pawn on g4. Yeah, that's how it was. Okay, there's no pawn on g4 but if there was a pawn on g4, king e5 would be a very, very good move. Very good move. But the best move was actually king e3, keeping the king active. Amazing. It's like it's not really, I don't know, first instinct, pawn, you want to go to the side, but king e3 was much better move. Okay, cutting it short somehow. Oh, there were some crazy lines here with rook c4. Crazy lines, if I remember okay. Yeah, he played actually, but what was it? Was it rook c4 here, or maybe several moves after? Let me see exactly. There was rook c8. Rook d3. Yeah, in this position, exactly. One more move. Yes, this he should have played. He played rook c8. And then something like this. Like, okay, yes, some serious threats, like this and this is checkmate. Actually, this type of checkmate, maybe Ben remembers, in which game, super important game, was similar ideas of knight d6 and checkmate the king on a6. This year, I actually mentioned the round, another game that happened on this round. We mentioned Aronian Kramnik from the candidates, round 12, if I'm not mistaken. Ivanchuk Carlsen, the game that, or Carlsen Ivanchuk, the game that Ivanchuk won with black. There were several lines where his king was on a6 and knight d6, very, very similar pattern, very similar. Ivanchuk didn't get checkmated, as we know, at least not in this game. Anyway, but this was computer way and showing some really complicated lines. Anand went for something like this. Okay, so basically, if there is one set of rooks on the board, only one, there's nothing to look. I mean, you just go rook g8, you take the pawn, he takes this one, and it's immediately over. There are two sets of rooks on the board, so it means two things. One, the king is weak. The king can come under attack. And two, the b3 pawn is also not totally secure. So of course Anand wants to exchange rooks, please. Not really easy. Okay, of course he's not going to allow this. Ikaro was online saying rook e3, king a2. Okay, that's true. But very obvious. I mean, basically, you just don't want b3 to be taken with a check, and basically it can never be taken because the rook just moves, and it's a draw. I mean, the only risk for white really is the king on a2. c5, rook d2. Yeah, if this line I think just queen this, then take and then take. And if king here, okay, just give him check back and until he goes to the side, and this not there. Take. And then play rook g1 and take on g5. Alrighty. Yeah, actually, but this Carlsen, oh man, like, This dude, just like amazing, like, yeah, he just wants you to take here so you can play b5 and win the game. I mean, checkmate, or winning a rook, or amazing. There's no check on the 6th rank. And yeah, Anand, I mean, it shows here that he had 4 minutes, but he said in the press conference that he had a minute repeatedly. So he said he was lucky that he found this idea of the following: check, first check, kick the king, and then he is in time to come and defend from the 2nd rank. And what would he play, for example, after this move? This is, I think, the main reason why he's lucky. What would he play here? If someone was listening, we should get a move. Yes, Julian. Rook g7, of course. Yeah, because this can be maybe not so clear. I mean, maybe still. You don't want to look at even something like this. Just rook g7 and rook g2 takes and threatening the exchanges of the rooks. Okay, but this is just the rooks went off the board. No, okay, he had to with 1 minute for 3-4 moves. Still, you need to be tiny precise. And here, apparently, no, they could have played for another 20 moves, 30 moves, make some stalemate. But I guess after 6 hours, even they weren't in the mood for this. Not really clear where. I mean, Anand said that he was lost. It's not absolutely clear where exactly you can put the finger and say, well, this was a winning line, but it's bad game for Anand. I mean, with white, move 15 he was already drifting, move 20 he was already much worse. The previous game he didn't win, he didn't make effort to win. Okay, I don't know. Let's put it this way. I don't think he will win a game in the match, and I believe that Carlsen has reasonable chances to win a game, so I think that Carlsen might win the match.